you know, if you go on our website, it's called fmcpreschool.com, and this is an initiative that's kind of work in progress. We've really started to put some horsepower behind it this year, and what we're trying to showcase is, you know, things about application technology, sprayer nozzles, sprayers, formulation technologies, granulars, soluble products, less soluble products. What does that all mean? Pre-emergence, application timing, weed resistance, and so forth. A whole holistic approach on kind of all these key pillars. And really at the end of the day, we want to have a resource, and hopefully it'll become a go-to resource for the industry, for agriculture stakeholders to be able to utilize, so that if you use our pre-emergence, if you use other companies' pre-emergence, that's fine. It's about getting better efficacy, getting better management, it's about getting better production, right? And quite honestly, I always like to always open, I mean, as agronomists, as producers, as industry stakeholders, we're all in this herbicide resistance message, or herbicide resistance kind of fight or battle, because it's not getting all that better. We're in it together. It's about being choosy, using other companies' technologies, using our technologies. Everybody has a fit, and it's about expanding that footprint. You know, one of the things we're gonna spend some time talking about is value add products to glyphosate. So that's what this whole site is about. Who wants to take a guess, not this year, but last year, what do you think the percentage of pre-seed burn-off products? So when I talk about pre-seed, I'm talking about glyphosate, and then value add products are the additives that go in with glyphosate. What are the percentage of value add products do you think of total spring pre-seed burn down that went in with glyphosate? Because we know we talk about the message, don't apply glyphosate alone, for several years in a row. So what do you, I just want to canvass a few people. You know, 25%, okay?
45. Are using it or not using it?
So with glyphosate, putting something in with glyphosate. So 80, 25, 40, who else? 80, nobody's got it right yet. 30, no.
90.
No.
70.
No.
60. 10.
No.
55.
Be in the middle of 100.
50.
50. Isn't that amazing though? To your point, I thought it would be higher, and that's data that we purchased, right, from overall holistic data. 50%, you know, and let's set the stage, right? We've had a number of tough years in southern Alberta, right, where it's been dry, the pre-seed burn-off acres, right? People, you know, with drier seasons, drier starts to the spring. You know, I would think this year it's probably going to be a bit higher, I would hope.
So the 50% that aren't using, are they upping their Roundup then?
I would say probably still a half liter REL to 3/4, but probably closer to a half.
Just remember to
Given.
re-say the questions, please, Nolan.
Oh, so the question here was, are people upping their glyphosate? And I would say a half liter to 3/4. How about some of you that are in, you know, crop consultants, retails?
You're talking Western Canada, not just Southern Alberta.
Yeah, I'm talking Western Canada, absolutely. So it could be a little slanted geography. The question was, are we talking just Southern Alberta, Western Canada? That statistic is Western Canada. Yeah. Thoughts, comments to that? Surprising? No? So what's the barriers, do you think?
Money.
Yeah?
But in a drier year, it's even worse because your weeds are more, like, they're stronger, right?
Yeah. They're stronger, they're waxy, they're built up, they're right? Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, talking about pre-emergence and pre-seed technology and soil applied technologies, it's really, we want to provide support for all stakeholders, providing knowledge, information, focused, you know, not focused on any specific portfolio, and really it's about creating an identity about, you know, being an industry leader in early season integrated weed management. And so, you know, we kind of talk about, you know, glyphosate alone, 50%, and, you know, some of the overall herbicide resistance management strategies, right? And we had a good talk over there, so I won't beat it to death, but I mean, we talked about, you know, what are some of the things we talked about over there for managing herbicide resistance? Number one on my list.
You said it there. That's why you
Yeah, I was a kind of a keener there, but yeah, crop rotation, herbicide rotation. What else? How else do we manage resistance? Seeding rates, yep. Tank mixes. Seeding rates, yep. Seeding what? Seeding dates, yep. Earlier fall, yep, absolutely. Choke out weeds. You know, tillage, mowing, you know, some of the other chemistry related things, implementing herbicide layering, right? Using different modes of action at different application timings, soil applied, but it's more than just herbicide layering, it's herbicide layering coupled with multiple tank mixes for emerged weeds as well, right? Sometimes that message I don't think is getting across as strong as it needs to. Limit the use, sorry?
Timing, because I mean, like this year I had guys that were
Beautiful.
pre-burning way ahead when they should have brought it in instead of 2 weeks ahead, should have been a week ahead.
And I want you to say that when we get to the end, because that's crucial to talk about fall application and soil apply, timing, what are we targeting, right? All of those good things. Man, I'm going to need 2 hours here. You know, and one thing I'm going to throw out here, and I don't know how it's a little bit different of a resistance management message, but I'm going to throw it out there. I think sometimes we have resistant weeds, and the industry says, you know, don't use this certain mode of action. But with a lack of newer modes of action for a number of years, sometimes we still need to use that mode of action. And I'll pick on group 2s, right? Group 2s, rarely we're just dealing with 100% resistance of group 2s. You know, that being said, kochia, right? We know kochia is group 2 resistant. However, we don't have a lot of great choices for stuff like narrowleaf hawksbeard, for dandelions, right? Some of those things. So I think one of the other parts of the integrated weed management message is that you need multiple modes of action, but you need effective modes of action. You still can use, if you've got group 2 resistant kochia and you got, let's say, narrowleaf hawksbeard or dandelion, or maybe it's white cockle or whatever, right? That may lend itself that you need that group 2, but within that group 2, you need another tank mix to tackle that resistant weed, right? Does that make sense? Is that fair?
We need some new chemistry.
Well, absolutely. And the companies are all working towards it, right?
It takes so long though.
It does. It does. Yeah. You know, and you know, we're at a point in the mid-2020s, we're hoping to bring some new chemistries that look very, very promising. I know there's some other manufacturer companies, but the point is how do we get there from, it's going to be a while to your point. So today is about how do we bridge the gap, right? From now till, you know, 3 years from now, 2025, 2026, right?
But that new chemistry, we're going to run into the same issues again if we're not careful.
Absolutely.
The issue's not the issue. It's managing what we've got.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. It's about putting things together, using what's old as new and new as old, and mixing it up and putting it together. So, you know, and that's a perfect segue into what we're going to look at today. So today we're going to look at a value-added glyphosate treatment. Here we got 21 different treatments here. And so I'm not going to mention any trade names. Hopefully I don't just in my head mention trade names, but it's going to be just talking about active ingredients, right? And treatment 1 to 11, we're going to look at value-added glyphosate additives. But you know, a lot of the companies, including ourselves, have started to put, to your point, how do we manage what we have? Well, we know we need to control dandelions, but we know we need to control kochia, and we know we need to control something else. So we're putting modes of action together. And sometimes a lot of the questions are in these pre-formulations. What do the individual components bring? So in this treatment, we're going to look at from treatments 1 to 11, and this is an untreated. We're going to look at tank mixing strategies, and we're going to show individual components of some of the pre-seed value-add glyphosate products to show what they look like individually. And then we're going to show the product concepts, the multiple modes of action together, so that you can kind of walk through the walk through. And this is a kind of a partnership that we've put this site together in consultation with the Farming Smarter group. Dave implemented it. It is what it is. There's no hiding behind anything here. It is what it is, and we're proud to show it because hopefully it provides a bit more in-depth information about, to your point, how do we manage things? How can we put modes of action? Maybe out of this we'll come up with another product concept that we can work on, right? Of putting different modes of action together. There's all those other things, right? Crop rotations and all those things are very important, but we always come back to chemistry, right? So we're going to kind of spend some time talking about that.
So Nolan, are you going to talk any about, the breakdown, like the pHs and organic matter and like that?
We can, as we go along, we're going to talk a little bit more about the soil applied herbicide layering talks, kind of at the end, where we're going to talk about pHs and some of those things more on the soil applied and what affects extended control duration. I thought we'd start off with the glyphosate burn-off value-added products to kind of look at that throughout, and then from there go to the extended control. We do have an extended control site of many different soil applied products. The problem is that a lot of that symptomology was showing up 3-4 weeks back, and so I thought might be a little bit better of a talk because we can kind of see some things here. Treatments 12 to 21, we're going to showcase different other competitor type active ingredients of other competitor products that are available and different modes of action as well. So just to tell you a little bit more about the site itself, all treatments were sprayed on June 18th. So today marks a historic 21 days after application. So we're walking through the site 21 days after application. We're going to keep this product agnostic, right, to keep with the preschool guidelines. So I'm going to refer to treatments as by actives, not trade names. I'm not going to kind of speculate on performance or any of those things. It is what it is, and you walk through it, and we can have a chat throughout. It's meant to be kind of collaborative. Yes?
The application rate of a pre-treatment being June 18th, I'm just making the assumption that the weeds would have been well beyond the normal application.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to speak to the staging here in a second, but because this is, as you see, this is bare ground. And so we've been actually doing high resolution video of this from day 0, and we're doing high resolution video at certain times, and we're hoping to put some different videos together as well, just to showcase kind of the differences that you're seeing, right, to your point. So weed staging, we got volunteer Roundup Ready canola that was seeded kind of in the front to make sure we got some enormous pressure. Some of it was 2 to 3 leaf at the time, and then there was some volunteer canola and Roundup Ready canola, right? Because all these treatments are with a ½ liter of glyphosate REL. The volunteer Roundup Ready canola, 2 to 3 leaf. The other volunteer canola was 5 leaf that came, so quite big, almost bolting. Kochia seemed to be in 2 groupings. We had 3 to 5 centimeters, and we had some 8 to 10 centimeters. So there was some seeded throughout here too. As you can see, there's some sow thistle here as well, natural populations. And the one thing that you'll notice here is that we've marked weeds from day 0. So we've been following, and what we've tried to mark is a kochia, canola, and in some cases a sow thistle. And so we've been following these weeds throughout this duration of 21 days, and we'll continue to follow it. Because, some of the families of groupings that we're looking at group 14s, right? PPO inhibitors, cell membrane disruptors. With the cell membrane disruption, the lipids and the proteins are becoming oxidized, causing the chlorophyll, other pigments to leak, causing, cell disintegration, wilting, and eventual plant death. And so some of the group 14 PPOs that we're going to look at as pre-seed burn-offs are Carfentrazone, we're going to look at pyroflufen, and we're going to look at saflufenicel. Okay? And so I'll tell you as we're walking through here what we're looking at. We're going to look at some group 4 chemistries, right? So, group 4 chemistries known as the synthetic auxins, mimicking the action of plant growth regulators. All the plant biosynthesis activities are excelled within the cell leading, to that uninhibited vascular growth. You see that over-exhibiting of the root structure, cell bursts, and, that's what leads to your ultimate plant death. And I think the real strength of the group 4s is their ability to translocate, upward to the leaves, downward to the roots. So you do get some systemic activity on perennials and so forth, right? And we're going to look at, guess what? What do you think I'm going to say next? Group 2s, modes of action. ALS inhibitors, right? And one thing with ALS inhibitors, they can work both on grass and broadleaf weeds, and we talked with that. I mean, the ALS enzyme, when it's inhibited, cannot be developed, and the plant is essentially starving to death. The one thing with group 2s is that they can take a while, right? A length of time before they start to work, anywhere from 15 to 20, 25 days. So we might be in a place here as we start to walk through this that we're starting to see some, that didn't look as good early on is starting to look better. And I've been kind of monitoring this, and that's kind of some of the observations I have been making. So with that, so this is the untreated. So I'm just going to have can you guys follow me and be my shepherds? Or I'll be the shepherd and you'll be my sheep and follow me through the plot. How's that? We can enter through here if we want. So this is the untreated. As you can see, I mean, obviously a lot of big growth here. We got kochia, we got volunteer canola, we got sow thistle kind of throughout. The one thing I should mention is this is centered on broadleaf weed control. So one thing that we did about midway through, I think it was about June 8th or 9th, we sprayed the grasses down with post, right? Because we just wanted to really look at broadleaf weed control. So I mean, there's a lot of grass pressure coming back now, but just to kind of exhibit. So the first one we're going to look at here, treatment 1, this is Carfentrazone at 15 mils an acre. So as you can see here, what do you think? Come on in. Well,
Actually better than I expect.
So that
yeah.
canola was out of the ground when you got nurtured?
Yep, it was. So it was really tempting to rogue it, but I didn't.
But some of these then came up after.
Yeah, some of them came up. But the interesting thing is that, with the group 14s, it's all about contact, right? You got to have water volume. You got to have, so that's really important with all the group 14s, right? They need water volume. They need contact. So that's one key thing. The other thing is varying rates of the group 14s. So Carfentrazone at 15 mils an acre is kind of weak on broadleaf weeds if they're bigger. So, yeah, it actually looks not bad, but, you see some of this canola that was bigger. These were probably some of the bolting canola, didn't quite do the job. So, the recommendation with Carfentrazone would be, upping the rate. So, keep an eye on this, and we'll look at a higher rate in a second. So, the next one here we thought would be really cool is a full active ounce of, what do you think this is? And you can't say it, George, because you're looking at the sign. What do you think with the symptomology?
Nolan,
Yep.
he has just asked that you repeat the questions for the audience if they're asked.
Oh, okay, sorry. Just having so much fun here, well, I'll try to repeat the questions. What do we think? So it's just, I'm asking what symptomology here? Anybody got a guess?
It's got to be a phenoxy base.
You're getting close, yep. A full active ounce of dicamba. So I thought it's important because there's other product combinations that we're using multiple actives with a full active ounce of dicamba.
So what happened here at the beginning here? Missed spraying it? That's pretty...
Good question. Maybe the boom wasn't charged. I'm not sure if we know that exactly. I'd say, well, yes and no. I mean, you look back here, and that sprayer should have been charged. I mean, it just tells you a full active ounce by itself, what is it doing? Right? It's if you come in here though, guess what we're seeing here? Come in, somebody's got to come show me or look with me. I can't leave me hanging. What do we got there?
Yeah, okay.
So we know dicamba is really hot and crispy on kochia. And so what we're looking at for the online people is we're looking at a kochia that's absolutely grossly dead, right? That's the strength, right? With components put together, it gets stronger, right? With other things, but this is just a full active ounce, so 70 grams active for those of you that correspond in active. We'll look at a higher rate of dicamba soon, comboed with a packaged product. What are we doing for time here? Just so I don't. Okay. So the next one here is tribenuron plus glyphosate, 21 days after. So straight triben plus glyphosate here. You know, you're seeing your symptomology here, some later symptomology on canola. You're seeing some bigger canola, right? Starting to take it down. You know, the one interesting thing here is, you know, we talk about resistance, and we know all these weeds are resistant, and there could have been also that this isn't, that, you know, the glyphosate obviously could be having activity here too, but, you know, you see some symptomologies on the kochia as well. There's, you know, it's obviously resistant, but there's a bit of a fitness penalty to it, right?
But I mean, it also maybe prevents getting a bigger seed bed
Yeah.
from that plant.
But absolutely, Andre. But see, and that's the idea of this site, is that we always talk about total resistance, and we got to use different modes of action, but you still might be gaining a little bit, right? Might not go with, say, a very technical person that's going to, right? But we see it in the field, and that's what we see. And if you can pick up something else that you put in with this tribenuron now that will nuke this, but if you had narrow-leaf hawksbeard and dandelion, you know my point earlier, then you got something, right? So what number are we at here? So number 5 here is tribenuron plus a full active ounce of dicamba. So you know, where's George? There. So that's, you know, an active ounce of dicamba. Now we put an active ounce of dicamba with tribenuron. Pretty cool, right? So next. So now this, what do you think's going on here? I'll ask this crew because George is cheating again. What do you think's going on here? What are you seeing? Tell me what you see. Yep. Yep. So, you know, I'm asking a question. So it looks like a phenoxy. What's happening in this site? So in this site we got tribenuron, dicamba, and carfentrazone. So 3 modes of action, right? So a 4, a 2, and a 14. So we talk about different modes of action here. That becomes, you know, and so look at this guy. He was massively huge. 8 days ago when I was here, this was actually fairly healthy, right? But that group 2 now is starting to kick into gear, right? And starting to take this guy down. So that's pretty cool, right?
How long ago was it sprayed?
21 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was here about 6-7 days ago, I think it was. I said 10, but.
What's the cost per acre of this treatment?
The cost per acre of this treatment is going to be roughly about $5 to $6. Pretty cheap. Plus the glyphosate. Yeah, for sure. But it just, to the point that was made earlier, and I love that point, and I'm going to use it, George, is that it's managing what we have. And I mean, that's one of the strategies that, you know, I think is important for the industry, is because we're not getting anything new quick. How do we do things differently? It's interchanging, using different modes of action. And then if you yet put a soil applied product before this, right, or right, now you're grabbing stuff before it's coming up, then you're nailing the stuff that's up with these different modes of action. You know, that's how we get ahead of it, right? And I don't think it's anything new, but it's just something that I think we just got to keep hearing. So number 7, and the reason this is taken down, this is a research product a research product of FMC's. And so what we're looking at here, it's going to be a build off of the previous treatment, but we are looking at more enhanced burn down for above ground weeds with this treatment. And so that's what we're showing here. And so this is probably coming in the next year or so.
Is that an additional mode of action or an addition to the current mode of action?
That's a good question. So it'll be an addition to the modes of action. Okay. Is this 8? Yep. So number 8, so now this is, we looked at Carfentrazone at 15 mils. Now we're looking at Carfentrazone at 30 mils. So, one of the things I wanted to mention is I think it looks probably a little bit better. One of the things that I know with Carfentrazone is that it isn't the sharpest on volunteer canola. We know that. We know that at 15 mils it's not enough. We need a higher rate of Carfentrazone, or we recommend, a 15 mil rate of Carfentrazone coupled with a tank mix partner in order to get high efficacy. Give or take at 30 mils, we're 80 to 85, 90%. Pop in, aim at 50 mils plus a tank mix partner if that's your primary concern with glyphosate, and you bump that up to probably 90 plus. But if you have other broadleaf weeds you're going after, then like for resistant kochia and so forth, the 30 mil rate becomes very efficacious, right? And as you can see, kochia, look at the kochia here, populations that were here. And that's a nice thing about having a running check in this plot is that there's no lying, right? Like this is what it was, right? In between. And so this guy is research, FMC research product number 2. And so FMC research product number 2 is about enhanced above ground activity and extended control as a pre-seed burn down. So
Pre-seed burn down for what crop, Nolan?
cereals. And that other one will be a cereals as well. And so as you can see here, this canola was not looking like that probably 8-9 days ago. What does that look like to you for Moxonal?
Yeah.
Nope.
Sure looks like it.
Well, no.
It looks like it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it is, but it looks like it.
It's a Carfentrazone plus something else. Below ground activity. I'll leave it at that. I said too much, I might get stricken by the FMC gods. Okay, number 10 now. So now the next few treatments we're going to look at here is just different product concepts. We talk about putting tank mix partners together. So the next one is going to be Carfentrazone plus 5 ounces of 2,4-D. Okay? It's a great kind of burn down type of product, right? The next one is Carfentrazone, and these are all at 15 mils per acre, right?
How many gallons an acre are they spraying water?
So the question is, how many gallons should we be spraying with water?
But yeah, how much water?
How much is actually going?
10 gallons.
10 gallons.
Yep. Recommended rate, and all of them have been 10. So even the ones that recommended 5 have been 10.
Because the one thing about kochia, when we didn't mention the kochia thing, is when you're doing a pre-burn, then little hairy kochias are not necessarily, there's kind of a protection in them, not necessarily taking in the chemical when they're really small and hairy.
Yeah,
So coverage is everything.
absolutely. So the comment was made, and it's a fantastic one because everybody needs to be thinking that is, you got little weeds, colder season earlier, right? Let's wind back to April 27th when we were doing a burn offer, right? Little things were just coming up, they're hardened off. Coverage is everything for these products, right? Especially the group 14s, but even the group 2s, the group 4s, it helps, right?
So you might see better control here than you would in an actual situation.
Yeah, because there's 5 gallons.
Yeah.
But not only 5 gallons, but also better growth conditions.
Yeah.
But you're seeing all the different modes, the 14s, the 4s, the same. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, great points. So this one here is now, let's make sure I'm on the right number here. 11. So this is now Carfentrazone at 15 mils plus MCPA ester ester 600 at 4 active ounces right here. So again, opens up the opportunity for in front of different crops, right? Okay, we'll keep on walking. We're number 12 now. So number 12, is this 12 again?
Yep.
Yep. So number 12, so now this is another group 14 active. So this is, sorry, what number? 12. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Right. So this is pyroflufen and MCPA at the same active ounces. So again, looking. So another opportunity to use different group 14s, right? The next one here is pyroflufen plus 2,4-D ester right here. So that's MCPA, 2,4-D. I'm good. You know, the kochia, you see some symptomology, but for whatever reason, the 2,4-D didn't seem to be quite as active on it. But it was big. It was big. We pushed the limits on this plot, right? So number 14, is this 14? Okay, who's going to tell me what this one is without looking at the sign? Go back to the, what did I talk about? 1 active ounce.
We're talking about dicamba.
Correct. So this is a higher rate of dicamba now with fluorosilane plus glyphosate. So, I mean, did a good job. I mean, we got some bigger canola back here as well. The biggest thing now with 115 grams of dicamba is great tool. You just, you know, got to keep an eye on recropping and all those types of things, right? Depending on.
Which of these treatments could have the most potential phyto on the seeded cereal crop?
You know, that's a great question, and it's environmentally related, and it's and there's soil, and it's probably something I talk more offline about. Some soils, right? You get sandbar situations in cereals, and you can see group 4s and group 2s on weird years with 4 inches of rain, right? Have a little bit more sensitivity on cereals, right? Most years, fantastic, but it's environmental, soil situations and so forth. But good question. So the next one here is 15. And so this one is saflufenicil at the registered rate. Looks really good as well. Did a good job. Another group 14, right? Contact, a little bit of, tiny bit of systemic, local systemic activity, not to the roots, but just kind of local systemic activity. But it's like, you know, a good efficacy in this site. Saflufenicil. So this one here is straight fluorosilane. So, you know, we talk about, you know, resistant kochia and so forth, right?
The dicamba back there made a big difference on the kochia.
Absolutely. Whereas, you know, with straight fluorosilane now, as a, you know, it, yeah, this is, so, you know, with this, just, you know, a different group too, though, fluorosilane versus triben, you're seeing a little different reaction to the kochia, though, right? If we wind back to when we looked at straight triben, right, we saw, I think, a little bit more efficacy. But it's interesting, right? Because, again, we talk about total group 2 resistance, but, you know, we see different activities with different actives. What's this one? Yeah, my neighbor's summer fellow was the answer there.
Getting close on time, maybe another 5 minutes if you can get
Okay, so this is, yeah, so this next couple of sites, we just want to showcase some opportunities in the canola for some products that are registered in front of canola for pre-seed burn down. So the first one here is clomazone. And so clomazone is a group 13, and this is coupled with carfentrazone as well. So the group 13s, known as carotenoid biosynthesis inhibitors, these herbicides are destroying green pigment in the chlorophyll, which is necessary for photosynthesis in the plant. This is picked up by the roots of the plant. It's moved through the plant, through translocation in the xylem, and to the foliage of the plant. So this is carfentrazone and clomazone at 30 mil rate. So the extended control of cleavers, it's a bleacher. There was some cleavers seeded, but they didn't come up. But you'll see this really characteristic whitening and bleaching as it hits through the surface, but we're not seeing that here today. Absolutely. So the question is the vapor things the volatility I think you're referring to? So way back when the product used to be in a EC formulation, when FMC took clomazone over, they microencapsulated, which you still got to, like anything, have drift management and so forth, but that microencapsulation greatly reduced that, that vaporizing concern. So next one here is another product in the pre-seed burn-off product for canola, and this one is haloxafen plus carfentrazone at 15 mils.
Why is it that some group 4s will control the volunteer Roundup Ready and some don't? That kind of
Good. That's a great question. Some actives are. What's that?
If you wouldn't mind repeating it as well.
Yeah. So the question is why are some group 4s, as we're seeing here, more active, and some aren't? Just different sites of action. With haloxafen, obviously, the canola staging maybe was a little bit too big for it. That's what I would say I've seen here. Thoughts or comments to that? There's a lot of wisdom in the crowd.
No idea.
Andre? But yeah, it's again this food for thought, right? And then we got.
That's where, well, the only thing is with this sometimes I don't know if the synergies are.
Yeah.
One takes away from it.
Yeah, but this is a product concept that's out there in the marketplace. Yep. This here is carfentrazone and bromoxynil at 140 grams. And then last but not least is pyraflufen plus bromoxynil at 140 grams. So just showing. And so with that, I'll kind of come over now to the, hopefully I have a few more minutes or. Cutting her close, okay. So I just have you gather over here, got another 3, 4, 5, 8 minutes.
I don't have my.
That's 10:46.
You need time to move to the next one as well.
Okay. So when you got it. To COVID, a PowerPoint presentation. You got my clicker? Yeah, my clicker. We're going to have a PowerPoint presentation in the field. So one of the other things we talked about herbicide layering. So we looked at the concept about controlling above ground weeds with different tank mixes. You talked about herbicide layering, and there's a lot of good herbicide layering products, applying kind of soil applied products early to get early weed control, take the pressure off of the in crop. Herbicide resistance is all about preventing weed seeds from germinating or going to seed. And so one way how to do that is control them early with a soil applied product. There's starting to be a number of soil applied products, group 13s, group 14s with sulfentrazone, with flumioxazin, another good soil applied product, group 15s with pyroxasulfone as well. And then there's also a number of combinations of group 14s and 15s. Put my sheets here together as well. And so what I wanted to do is just, over the course of the spring in my job, I take a lot of questions from all over, basically Western Canada, and kind of some of the questions I thought I'd just try to address just from a kind of a more holistic approach. Like, you know, what are the factors affecting extended control with these soil applied products? And so it really kind of comes down to, you know, as talked about, you know, application rate. You know, high rates and low rates, and coupled within that, soil types and textures, right? You got coarser soils, you're going to get longer extended control duration. You can probably, in coarser soils, maybe be able to go to a middle or a lower rate. In fine textured soils and clay soils, you really need to bump up your rates to get proper efficacy and to get proper extended control. Organic matter plays a big role. Lower organic matters, we see longer extended control duration. In higher organic matters, you can see binding up. So, you know, a product that you get 8 weeks of flushing control of kochia in southern Alberta with some of these group 14 soil applied actives, you might get 2 weeks of extended control in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, because it's 2.5% organic matter versus 7% organic matter. pH plays a big role as well with these soil applied products. Lower pHs allow the product to be more available. Higher pHs allow the product to be more available, more basic soils. When we get to more acidic, lower pHs, you need to use higher rates because that active is not as available for weed uptake, root uptake. And soil moisture. All of these soil applied group 13s, 14s, and 15s need moisture to activate. And so that brings us to our next discussion here, just what are the minimal amounts of moisture required for soil? And so what affects a product when you're applying these soil applied products? They need moisture. What affects them is rain, and some need more and less. So what determines how much rain you need? Anybody want to give it a shot? Quarter inch. So some of them, yes, and some of them higher. Why is that? Need more rain than that.
Depends on the quality, the texture of the soil, I think.
Absolutely. It's twofold. Texture of the soil, but it's solubility of the product. How it, basically the formulation type of the product and how it breaks down. So a product like clomazone, a group 13 that we looked at, in order for it to activate and give that extended control, it only needs a quarter inch of rain because it goes into solution very quickly. This number of 1,100 milligrams per liter means that 1,100 milligrams of active goes into solution in the soil and forms the barrier where that weed seed, if it's in the barrier, germinates and gets controlled. When you get to something like participants, where you got 3.49, you need a half inch, because now instead of 1,100, we're 3.49. So you need more moisture, more water to put that product into solution. So I just thought I'd mention, because that question comes up quite a bit, of just different products. So any pre you're using, it's not to suggest anything, it's just ask that question about kind of solubility so you get a better understanding how much moisture you may or may not need.
Sarah, do you have a question, or are you wrapping them up? Because we gotta wrap it up here, Nolan, now.
Okay. And last but not least, I'll just end with this one, is just activation layer. Where are the weeds germinating from? And so it's important to kind of, I guess, just to understand that there's a, you know, when you apply the product, and it forms a barrier in this top layer of soil, and a lot of these group 13s, 14s, and 15s is all root uptake. So these green dots are representing weeds. And so this is the activation barrier. These are your weeds in that activation barrier. They're going to get controlled. With something like pyroxasulfone, which is a group 15, it is all about root uptake, but if you have wild oats, and these are wild oat seeds, let's say, and they're below here, they're not going to get controlled, right? You get something like trilate. Trilate will control these ones because it's shoot uptake, right? And the shoot will go through the layer. However, with trilate, it's not going to get these shallow germinating ones. Pyroxasulfone is the opposite. So And I'll end it at that. I had a few more, but I think we had a good chat. If there's any last questions. Okay. I will